Hi, I'm going to talk about this paper, The Effects of Radar on the Human Body, 1962. So I'm going to talk about monkeys and then rats. They exposed monkeys to an antenna towards the brainstem at 225 to 400 megahertz, 100 watts output antenna. And what happened is finally the monkey was thrown into a major convulsion, that's seizures, and a few seconds before they just dropped. This sounds kind of a little bit like the Wuhan people who just drop, except this happened a few seconds after they were exposed. Those Wuhan people, I've seen one of them was speaking on the phone, but most of them were just walking or doing something else. So, in a stroke, people who have a stroke, their neurons are fine. And sometimes, if they go to the hospital, they get a blood thinner or something else that prevents the neurons from dying. But the neurons can die within like a day. So, 20 hours later, they'll have a droopy face or something, won't work anymore after. It might eventually get better, but the neurons may take a few hours to die. So a theory could be that they were exposed to 5G cell phones, their brainstem was, a few hours earlier, and the neurons died and they dropped dead and started seizing, convulsing. These phase arrays, 5G, this is a phase array 5G antenna. So a phone would be like over here, this is part of a phone. So this would be going, let's say, the left side towards the tower, 5G cell tower. And this side looks like it's emitting towards the head. I don't know if these things are equal. Maybe somebody who knows antenna design for phase arrays, these are equal, if they can possibly shield the side of the head. There are no detectors for 5G phones. They operate between like about 18 to 40 gigahertz. So all the detectors only go up to 8 gigahertz or 10 gigahertz. So this one's 200 megahertz to 8 gigahertz. So if somebody had a cell phone, 5G cell phone, and a 20 to 40 gigahertz detector, they could put it in the back and see if there's any radiation emitted into the head. That would be nice because I don't have either of them. But if this emits back and you're holding the phone on the side a little bit looking at it, then this would go maybe right into the brainstem. So the brainstem is above the spinal cord, and the monkeys got radiated in the brainstem, and that's the vital bodily function. So when you irradiate that, you get convulsion, seizures, and a bad outcome. Okay, so I want to talk about next. The paper shows rats. Rats also experience muscle spasms, tremors, and chronic convulsions, and their tail stood up almost straight. That kind of reminds me of some of those Wuhan people who kind of like ended up like a stiff board. It's kind of almost unreal before dropping. So these rats got 400 megahertz So this is like longer wavelength than a 900 megahertz cordless phone. It's a long ways from the 20 to 40 gigahertz. So these longer wavelength uh, electromagnetic waves are actually more dangerous. They got 20 watts because the higher frequency, lower, shorter wavelength, like 20 to 40 gigahertz for the 5G cell phones, don't penetrate as deep, or they get more stopped more by the skin. Plus, in another paper, it says that higher frequencies get dissipated, get the heat dissipated from the cells faster for some reason. And the third thing I want to talk about is the ear can hear microwaves. I've seen this video. This professor takes a magnetron out of a microwave and puts it behind his head, behind his ear, and then he says he can hear. So he can hear buzzing, knocking sound. And people who live in an apartment next to the 4G and 3G antennas say they can hear the microwaves because they get so much radiation. And this is interesting that this paper says you can hear zero point 0.4 milliwatts per centimeter squared. I like to convert everything to watts per meter squared because I know the sun emits 1,000 watts per meter squared at the equator, so you can I can picture that, how hot it would be. And if you want to convert that, you multiply by 10,000 because it's 100 times 100 centimeters, hundredths of a meter. And then since this is milli, you divide by 1,000, so you effectively multiply by 10. So this is 4 watts per meter squared. So this is almost a thousandth of the output of the sun at the equator. So it's just a little bit of heat, microwave heat, but the ear can still detect it, which is nice because you know you're being radiated. And even deaf subjects can hear it because it doesn't get detected by the ear, normal ear mechanism by which you hear sound. It's probably got some kind of just nerves and some kind of, I don't know, something, those little hairs in the ear detect, somehow pick it up. Um, this is from the paper UHF VHF. Yeah, so I always kind of try to look at this. Acoustimeter is watts per meter squared. It doesn't have per centimeter square, and it's not milliwatts. Microwatts, micro is a millionth, so this actually high is zero point 0.1 watts per meter squared. So if you're close to a cell phone, 4G, 3G cell phone antenna, it's usually you get this much radiation. If you put the cell phone close to this detector, you can get 100,000 microwatts per meter squared. Okay, thank you.